Welcome to the first video of Above My Pay Grade. My name's Eric, and on this channel, we talk about what's on my mind, mainly finance. And today I wanted to go over something I saw on George Gammon's channel. George Gammon, if you don't follow him on YouTube, I definitely recommend it. But it's something I've also noticed in the news and in our political discourse. I don't know. I've noticed that I think is troubling, to say the least, and I think is a tool that often politicians use to pit people against each other. So let's take a look. Everyone knows what's going on in Ukraine, and for I think correct motives, I think a lot of countries are sanctioning Russia, but here's where I think it could be going overboard, and I'd love to know what you think in the comments. It's not just Russian government that is being sanctioned. It is Russian artists and Russian athletes, which, if your government was doing something, and I think it's very important to differentiate between Russians and the Russian government. If you've seen any of the news stories going on over there, there's thousands of people protesting, thousands of people getting arrested by their government. But I don't think this kind of action that I'm about to show you insulates Russian people. It isolates them into the hands of their government, where they have no other option. So let's take a look here. This is from The Guardian. Eurovision Broadcasting Network said Russia would no longer be allowed to participate in this year's Eurovision Song Contest. I think Will Ferrell made a movie about that. It's on Netflix, kind of funny. And I've heard of this before. The Royal Opera House has canceled plans of residency for Moscow's, I'm not even going to try this name, the ballet, one of the oldest and most prestigious ballet companies in the world. Okay. Do they have ties to Putin? And obviously they're Russian, but do they have ties to Putin? And concerts, art, it goes down the list. And here's another big one. And this one I find to be pretty hypocritical. So let's take a look up here. FIFA and UEFA banned Russia from competition after IOC calls to suspend athletes. If you don't know what the IOC is, it's the International Olympic Committee, who just had the Olympics in China. So they're pretty huge on human rights. Same thing with FIFA. Just look how they built the stadium in Qatar for the 2020 World Cup. They're very huge on human rights. But they're trying to ban the Russian national team. And I don't think this is a good way to treat Russian players. And the problem is, culturally speaking, this can have some huge negative consequences if we, as a culture, otherize a group of people. We judge people not just as individuals, but we say you're Russian, therefore you're guilty. And this has happened throughout history. I'm not old enough to remember a lot of these things that have happened, but I've heard about McCarthyism, the witch hunt to find communists in the 50s. I learned about that in school and ruined a lot of people's careers. Kind of sounds like cancel culture to me, which we already have that culture, that mob mentality that does not bode well for bringing people to your side. And this is something that George Gammon brought up that I wanted to look up, because this popular opinion and this otherizing of people can have horrible effects that we can see through history. But this is a politician in the States, Eric Swalwell. I know his name because he allegedly slept with a Chinese spy. But here's a direct quote from him. Everything we do has to be aligned with our allies. And the fact that we're able to get the Germans to stop the pipeline, that's huge. Pipeline that was greenlighted by the United States, by the way. That's U.S. leadership in the international stage. And so we want to move our allies in NATO, but also in countries like Japan, who can, take swift action and severe actions against Russia. Russian government, Russian people, are they two separate entities to him? Let's go on. Frankly, I think closing the embassy in the United States, kicking every Russian student out of the United States, those should all be on the table. And Putin needs to know that every day that he is in Ukraine, there will be more severe options that could come. Okay. We've done this before. We did this with the Japanese on the West Coast during World War II. Again, think logically about this. If you are a Russian American, or you're a Russian student on a visa in America, and you're treated in a way that otherizes you, from politicians and individuals on social media alike, you might not sympathize with your government, but eventually, if everyone otherizes you, your government's the only place you can go, because you're guilty by association, because we're judging people. Excuse me, off the group they're attached to. So this, and again, I'll link all these in the description so you guys can read them. Also the piece from the Washington Post that George Gammon talked about, I thought was really good, but I'm not going to go over that since he did. And I'll link that in the bio. But this is something I found interesting that has a lot of parallels today. John J. McCloy, who at the time of World War II was the Assistant Secretary of War, remarked that if it came to the choice between national security and the guarantee of civil liberties expressed in the Constitution, he considered the Constitution a scrap of paper. In the immediate aftermath of Pearl Harbor attack, more than 1,200 Japanese community leaders were arrested. The assets of all accounts in the U.S. branches of Japanese banks were frozen. Most people look back on that time and think that is something the United States should not have done. And I feel like a lot of people, when they read a history book or they learn history in high school, they think, I know I did this. I thought, how could the Germans be swindled by Hitler? And it's not that we like to have these black and white pictures in our head. Like, if I was there, I would have done this. And if I was alive during World War II, I would not have wanted to intern the Japanese. I would beg to differ with you on that. Typically, if the crowd is going one way, it's very rare to choose, because it requires bravery, and you might be labeled a terrorist, to say, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes here on interning these Japanese Americans. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should follow the Constitution. And I point your attention to the aftermath of 9/11. There was a ton of patriotism during that time, and there was also a mob mentality around national security. So anything we needed to do to secure our freedom, including giving up civil liberties. Patriot Act is a good example of that. We gave up our civil liberties under the auspices that it's just going to be, we're just going to be monitoring terrorists. Again, it's hard. I don't want to lump, since my whole example is not lumping people into a group, but I think a good filter for politicians are that they don't care about you. And some politicians, they really might care. They might have a bleeding heart for their constituents and people that vote for them. But the nature of the Constitution is to limit government power. And most people don't understand how narcissistic people think, or how your average person doesn't understand somebody who desires power and just wants more of it. It's a foreign concept to them. But in the realm of politics, that's very common. So I would ask you to be more skeptical, especially kind of my filter is, has this politician ever said anything that was against the party line, something that was culturally unpopular? And do they have standards that they stick to? Or do they blow with the wind? Wherever society's going, that's the direction they will be. That's kind of my filter on trusting or kind of filtering their motivation. But I think we need to be careful. As George Gammon said in the video, I think we really need to be careful about otherizing people in America. This has been going on for the last 2 years. Vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Parents at school boards. I deal with that here in my home state of Colorado, in the county I'm in. There's a lot of vitriol, and it really happens first from dehumanizing the other side, not understanding either their perspective. And I heard another good quote, again from George Gammon. Understanding the other side doesn't mean, or trying to understand the other side doesn't mean you agree with them. So again, be free thinkers, be people that are skeptical. I think it's really, really sad what's going on in Ukraine, as most people do around the world. But I would caution you on believing politicians who say they really care about people in Ukraine, or they really care about COVID, or what they really care about is getting reelected. So if caring about Ukraine will get them reelected, they'll do that. If caring about Ukraine will get them more power, they'll get that. And then in this example of Japanese Americans in internment camps, we're going to destroy your civil liberties because somebody else is trying to destroy ours within your own country. So because there's a threat, a national security threat, we're going to take away the Constitution for you. And to say that can't happen again in America, with Russians, with the unvaccinated, with truckers, with anybody the government wants to label as dangerous, I think it's foolhardy. So be skeptical. Thanks for watching. If you liked what I had to say, I'm going to try to make multiple videos a week. And please like and subscribe. Thanks.